Majority of the world is probably polychronic, and we in the United States are monochronic. And monochronic is a view of time where time is a commodity. It's a very important commodity that could be wasted. It's very valuable, like time is money. And so in a monochronic worldview, you want to do everything to take advantage of the little bit of time you have and use it very, very efficiently. And so there's a lot of importance on arriving on time, taking and not wasting time, taking advantage of the time you have. The schedule is extremely important and sticking religiously to the schedule. Everything in a monochronic society, things are supposed to be done in order. There needs to be order to everything. The rules are there for a reason, and they should always be obeyed, unless there are extremely extenuating circumstances. And to see in a polychronic system, time is not all that important. Time is not considered. Time does not govern you. You govern time. In a monochronic system, time is kind of like the boss over you.
I'm Tim and I'm from Southport, England.
My name is Rebecca I'm from Tennessee, and is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, should I re-say that? I'm like, no.
If you don't feel comfortable with what you just said, you
No.
can say it again and I can edit it.
Okay, you'll
Okay.
just edit it.
My name is KJ Park, actually County Park.
I'm Lisa Park.
I'm from South Korea.
I'm from Ashton, Idaho.
My name's Grady Bowman. I'm from Twin Falls, Idaho.
I'm Hisami Yamamoto. I'm from Japan.
Thanks.
Oh, where? I thought I was thinking.
I'm Lumi Akamamodi.
I'm Catherine Okomamordi.
She likes the last name.
Oh yeah. The library, because he used to work there, and then I was looking for a book on campus, and he happened to be the one at the front desk that checked it out. So he looked up the book and helped me find it in the library because it was my first semester, so I didn't know how to find books. And then we just talked, and when we went back to the front desk, he wrote his phone number on a sticky note and stuck it on my iCard. So, yeah. High expectations.
Yeah.
I think it's at the group meeting of Japanese people, and then there's some return missionaries and Japanese, and we had potluck type of.
Yeah. It was a potluck with return missionaries from Japan and then Japanese.
Well, I first met him because I work as a tutor on campus, and he came for a tutoring session. But I could kind of tell the first time that he came that he didn't really need a tutor, because he knew the material really well.
We met in spring of 2009 in a math class here on the BYU-Idaho campus.
I was kind of wondering why he was there, but he just kept coming and coming every week.
I was not going to call him at all.
Yep. She wasn't gonna call me. And I was stressing about it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I should have done that.
A couple times every week.
We were sitting next to each other, we were just classmates, and that's where we first met.
I had heard that she was a non-member at BYU-Idaho, and she was Japanese, and I had just gotten back on mission, so I was like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yep.
let's do this. So me and my friend kind of talked about it, and we're like, okay, let's see if we can do something here.
I feel like feeling bad. Well, I think it happened on a Wednesday. So the whole of Wednesday, nothing. Thursday nothing. Then Friday, I saw her again in the library about 3 o'clock. And she was trying to like avoid me, but then we made eye contact. So she walked up to me, yeah. And then we talked, and then she said, okay, yeah, I'll text you later or something. And so that night, a text came into my phone. And then Saturday was the next day, so I asked her up on a date. And after our first date, we just kept on dates, and yep.
He asked me out a couple times, but you have to sign a contract that you're not allowed to date your tutors. And so I told him no. He still waited till the end of the semester to take me out.
Yep, that was me.
Do you want us to expand and go into more?
Oh my gosh, from starting dating to married was 6 months. And
It was a little
so
less, I think it was 5 months. June 26,
Yeah.
2009 was when we started dating.
we were engaged for like
21st.
6 weeks. And so that was it.
Yeah, it was about 5 months. We knew each other for about 7, but we were actually dating for 5 months.
Yeah.
7 months? 6 to 7 months?
Yeah, right in that area. From the time that we started dating till our wedding day.
Over a year. A year and what?
A little bit.
A year and 22 days,
Yeah.
right?
So I got baptized, no, 20 days. I got baptized December 3rd, and then we started dating 2 days after, because I started on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So December 5th, right? And then he was in China last semester, and then he came back Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, like at 9
Night.
o'clock, night.
And then, yeah, that night. But it's like past 12, so we're saying Christmas.
So it was like 12:10
Yeah.
Christmas morning.
Yeah.
When we got engaged, so for a year.
I think that certainly any two people can make anything work, that they're willing to make the effort to make a marriage between the two of them something that can last, then race and culture is not a barrier in any way to people having and enjoying a wonderful marriage. I think that sometimes people think that their love alone, oh, I love this person, and therefore this will overcome any difference of any, whether it's race-based or culture-based, or here's some traditions in our family. And sometimes it takes more than just loving the person. It takes being able to communicate and talk through and get an understanding of where that person's coming from.
The things that I was impressed with Rebecca were her pragmatism. She's very practically minded, can get things done, and we really enjoyed talking to each other. We can talk through issues and ideas and plans really well.
Want to go first?
So you go first.
Well, the reason why I wrote my phone number on that sticky note and stuck it to her iCard was she had a great smile. Working, on that circulation desk, you meet a lot of people. You talk, you laugh, single guys, you flirt,
Mm-hmm.
But with her, it was just different. After just being a freshman who needs help, I felt like I should help this girl, because she was just so polite. She had a great smile. We just talked like we knew ourselves, before that moment. I was like, well, that's pretty good. That's good stuff right there.
I think we're both kind of the same in that aspect. I think we're very, very logical people. And so if something doesn't make sense to us, we just don't do it. And so we both trust each other enough to know that we'll think things through so that in the future, if ever anything happens to us, usually we're on the same page on the big issues.
I don't know, it's hard to say in English.
For me, I wasn't really attracted to him until after we started hanging out. Like, I knew that he was nice and all, and I could tell that when I first met him, but once we started doing things together, I always have a hard time talking to people that I don't know very well, but with him I could just talk and talk and talk, and I never ran out of things to say, and it was never awkward.
I could be myself when I was around him. That was a lot, like, and that means a lot to me. Because like, since I came here, I've been through like hard time, like I couldn't express myself very well in English. It's like, it's not gonna happen, you know. And then I met him, and then we spoke in Japanese, sometimes English a little bit, kind of. So that helped a lot.
First, she's beautiful to me, and then she's thoughtful.
That was the first thing that I was like, oh, you know, like I like how I can talk with this guy, so it was just, we related a lot, and it was nice, so.
And he was black too.
Yeah.
Well, of course he's kind, and then he treats everybody like same. Like, he doesn't change, depends on people or, you know, friends, family. So that was really good to me. And then he cared about his family too.
Before I knew that he wanted to date me, I still thought he was pretty good looking. And he just always treated me like I was special. He would text me every morning, say, good morning, sunshine. And just, I've never been treated that special before.
I think at first, obviously, like, there are differences in cultures, and some ways that attracted me, some ways it didn't. But even more than that, that stuff really didn't matter to me. It was more like, Hisami's personality, I really like, it blended well with mine. She's really honest, which is very difficult in the Japanese culture. And that was really impressive to me, that she was really honest with me. And she's really stubborn. And I need that in my life. And so if I wouldn't have someone, if I had someone that was kind of a pushover, I don't think I would go well in a marriage. And so I really needed that.
It's more like you have to be polite. So like, to be polite, you have to sometimes agree with everybody, kind of.
Okay.
Right?
And that involved agreeing with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's more traditional there still. Like, if you look in the States in the 60s, you had that relationship with, like, the man of the house is the man of the house.
Well, it's getting changed, but still.
I had a dream and I could not shake it. I was standing up there naked. Lullaby, oh my.
There was a period in the kind of the 50s, 60s, 70s time of the church where issues of both race and culture were maybe more dominant than they are today. We still have struggles, right, with racial discrimination and challenges, but given some of the tensions that were involved in that day, there were just cautions that were given by church leaders about things like cultural differences, being aware of the culture, and the encouragement from the brethren that by and large, in order to make marriage, because marriage is such a challenging thing to work and create anyway, that some of the better things some of the better decisions that could be made by couples of those days would be to marry within their culture and within their race, because there would be an understanding that people of the same culture or race would have.
I have friends who have been here, for a long time and still haven't been able to find themselves because their parents have put their feet down and say, you have to marry a Nigerian. And they're just like stuck, because, they come across girls that they like, but because, they're not Nigerians, they're like, I can't really do anything because my parents would not allow me to do this.
My parents were they were really hesitant. Very hesitant. Pretty much. I forgot what yeah, when I told them, I think it was before I started dating you. I was thinking about it. That was when before you were baptized. And they were just like, I don't know, my mom's really afraid that I would just, because I'm dating someone from another country, automatically means I'll live in that country the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's her idea. And so she was really scared about that. And then after that, they bring up all this other stuff. You know, like culturally. What's some stuff that
I don't know.
I can't remember? Because we've talked about all this and it's always funny. But they were definitely hesitant.
Well, mine actually wasn't extremely positive, just because, not because we're from the South, even though that's the stereotype. My sister had actually married someone from Mexico, and he turned out to not be the most honest of people. And so after they got married, she found out all these things about him, and they ended up getting divorced. And that happened probably a year before I met Tim. And so whenever I told them, hey, I'm getting married, and only my parents had met Tim, no one else had. And because, like I said, it was 5 or 6 months, they just didn't respond very positively. They thought like maybe it was too soon and they didn't know him. They also thought, you know, there's been another guy in our family that's from a different race and that hasn't gone well. The only thing that I think made them somewhat receptive is I have another brother-in-law who's from Tonga who's been amazing in our family. It just so happened it's weird, we never thought we would marry someone of a different race, but 3 out of 5 of us in my family ended up doing it.
In the beginning, when I told my parents I was dating a guy from Korea, they were a little scared because they had heard some horror stories about people marrying foreigners and then not ever coming back from that country because they're a different person there or something. And then, so they got over that okay. But when I told them that we were getting married, they were happy and excited. And they're fine that he was from Korea. They're a little sad that we weren't getting right in the temple right away because he's not a member, but they still love him and accept him.
I don't know, with my family, they didn't expect it just as much as I never expected it. When we first started dating, then I told them, well, okay, he asked me to ask my parents if they were okay with me dating a black guy because of previous experiences. So before we started dating, I went and talked to my parents, you know, just to see where they stood on it, and they were kind of shocked, but, you know, this is my life, so they wanted to be open to it. So, but they hadn't met him at this point, so they were still kind of uneasy about it. But then the biggest concern was just that it wouldn't work out because there's differences between Africans and Americans, you know. But then once they met him, then, like, all of those fears were gone because, like, we're really not different, and, like, there's so much in common, especially because of the gospel, that you can connect, and it's not a big deal. So after they met him, then they were really open to it, and they didn't have a problem with us getting married or anything, so.
Then I told my mom, I don't remember what did she say. Oh, she was kind of like teasing about it, like, oh, you got a blue-eyed boyfriend, kind of, you know, like. No, like, it wasn't really serious about it, but when we told about engagement.
Marriage stuff, she got pretty serious.
Yeah, she was like pretty worried about me, like, this means like I have to, not have to, but like more likely I'm gonna live in States and longer than I thought, or like longer than my mom was expecting, so she was really, yeah, she was crying when I told her.
Oh yeah. We asked permission. Yeah, that was a pretty tough meeting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but her mom's awesome. I like her a lot.
There wasn't anything that dictated here's what church members must do in every situation. There was guidance and encouragement to just be more aware. And then I think as our culture has become, as our society in America especially, has become more and more of a melting pot and more of an identity, everyone kind of grows up here and accepts and knows, and we have so much that has helped us overcome barriers. There's been so much learning and awareness of the rich diversity that is brought by people of different races and cultures. Then I think you've seen that message kind of drop away.
When I told them I had found Catherine, they were like, "Oh, great." You know, so they asked me about her family, they asked me about, you know, her in person. I'm like, yeah, I mean, so far I haven't found anything that, you know, I'm struggling with. But sometime, you know, I'll put you guys, you know, on the phone so you can talk to her and, you know, get to know her a little bit. But from what I have seen so far, you know, I think she's really cool. I was like, yeah, that's all right. But know this, if it's right, it's right. If it's right, go for it. I was like, okay, well, I'm just, you know, still taking my time, and it took me quite a while to like finally like warm up to the fact that, okay, Catherine is really coming into my life and taking a special, you know, place in my life.
Now, having said that, so you don't hear messages from prophets that you would have maybe heard from prophets or apostles in times past about, well, let's have people of this race marry people of that race. That was being encouraged. You're just not hearing that anymore. There isn't that kind of barrier that's being placed in front of people in any way or any sense that the church would be dissatisfied or displeased. That's disappeared entirely. But there is a recognition that cultural differences can apply a pressure, particularly if we don't understand them. So a misconception that a couple might have is, again, my love will be sufficient to take care of any problem or challenge that we face in our marriage. Any difference that's between us we can overcome.
Don't do this too much on the camera.
Why?
No, I know what it looks like. That's whenever I got filmed for the last couple of days, they're all saying, take your hands away from your face.
Yeah, my mom loves cute babies, like mixed babies. And so when she knew Catherine was white, she was like, oh, I guess I'll have, you know, mixed grandkids, why not?
So we started like December, so Christmas break. I didn't go home to Japan, so I went to his house, stayed with him.
So she was with us forever. It seemed, like, I'm sure.
Every break I went to his house. So like,
I guess that's in our culture thing too.
Yeah.
They don't like going to people's houses.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, well, it's not just going to someone's house. Like my boyfriend's house with his parents.
Yeah, that's hard for everybody.
Right? Yeah. It's not just cultural. You want to be like best out of yourself. Like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the first time when I went to his house, I didn't speak at all.
He said mute.
I didn't, because I didn't want to say something weird or something rude, so I was like, mute.
Just didn't say anything.
Just sitting there, and then when they wanted to say something, I just said it greatly. So you had to translate it.
So it was like super awkward.
Yeah.
It was like
Sure, maybe your parents didn't hope this.
Yeah, it was pretty awkward.
I was just like sitting.
Both of us were just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty, she was way silent, she wasn't herself. So after that, they had more questions, obviously. They're like, does she speak English? And is she outgoing? Because I'm pretty outgoing, and so they're really worried about, like, is she, like, I don't know, like, outgoing? Does she do fun stuff? Because she was just kind of like, at the dinner table, they would ask her a question, and she would just be like, yeah. And she'd never ask anything.
Well, I think that's our Japanese thing.
That's another one they kind of get used to. For me, it was totally normal to not be as talkative as like typical American, but for them, it was like way foreign.
All cultures have their paradigms about how things should be. They're models of reality on what is a real man and what is a real woman, what is the ideal this, what is the ideal that. And very often, a lot of those things are very irrational. I mean, extremely irrational. And some of them are actually harmful. And a lot of them, you know, your self-esteem, one's self-esteem, which is highly related to one's happiness in life, is basically depends on the gulf between the culturally created ought self, the type of person the culture says you ought to be, versus the real self. And the larger the gulf is between the culturally created ought self, and you need to remember that every culture has different ought selves, okay? The bigger the gulf is between the culturally created ought self and the real self, and the lower an individual's self-esteem is going to be, okay? But yet at the same time, a lot of people compromise their real selves. They compromise their real talents, their great abilities, to get closer to that culturally created ought self, so they could have higher self-esteem. A lot of times they'll suppress great gifts they may have, just so they can get closer to that culturally created ought self, to be accepted by other people in their larger culture or their microculture.
I definitely didn't. I thought that I would totally be the small town, like, country girl who got married, found a house, and lived out the rest of my days kind of happy, like in the movies. I never saw myself with someone of a different race, or even someone who grew up in his own multicultural family.
No. Growing up in Idaho, no. There's not diversity at all. Like, in my high school there was 2 black people maybe, and I didn't even really know them, so like, especially black people, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna marry a black person, you know, or like any other culture really. I didn't expect it because it wasn't like a big thing where I grew up.
Well, I didn't expect it just because before I met him, I didn't realize how many foreign students there were here. And I dated a few guys not very long, and I just expected, no, I'll probably just marry someone from Ashton because I've known them my whole life. That's probably just what I'm going to do. So, but I got lucky and didn't have to do that. So, and it's exciting.
Well, I had the time I was dreaming about like being married with some blue-eyed guy, kind of. But no, I didn't want to, because it means I have to be away from my family, you know. There's high possibility, and yeah, so I wish I could find. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, growing up in a mixed race family is you always expect to marry someone from a different race, because there's not too many half Chinese, half English people that are LDS Mormon, and so if you spread those different demographics about, it was pretty obvious that whoever I married would not be the same as me. I always expected to marry someone white, I guess. That was always kind of the preference.
You never thought you would marry an American?
No, that's not true at all. If you're someone white, I didn't know if they'd be American or... They'd certainly speak English, you know. That was for sure. I knew that. But in terms of other... I never thought I would end up with somebody that's black or even Asian, actually. But that... And it's because of the cultural... similarities, because I've grown up in England. I feel more British in terms of basic character, and so pretty much anyone from the US or the UK is what I thought I would marry, but not somebody that's exactly the same as me.
For me, growing up, no. But after my missionary experience, a lot of things changed, because I had 9 companions and 7 were Americans, and I had interesting experiences with each and every one of them that I knew something was coming up, but I wasn't sure how it would happen. But when I was, granted the visa to come to the US, my dad told me flat out, he was like, now that you're leaving home, you even live in Nigeria, if you come tomorrow with a Chinese woman, hey, you have my blessing. Because to a large extent, my parents understand when you go to an environment, it influences you, and mostly for good, you know. And so, from the very first day, they were open to whatever, you know, would happen to me, as long as it's for good, you know. And so when I came here, and I saw all these white people around me, initially I felt like, you know, I felt really little. I was in a minority for the first time in my entire life, you know. But then when I started, like, you know, mixing up with people here, I knew it was coming. I didn't know who at the time, but I knew it was coming. So growing up, I didn't fully believe, well, I didn't even think about that. But when I changed the environment, I knew it was coming, and I was getting prepped up for it.
I don't much mind nationality.
I was the same exact way. I never thought it would ever come. I was actually even like anti-dating, like specifically like a Japanese girl, to tell you the truth. After experiencing Japan and like going there, I saw all I saw was bad examples of intercultural marriages, honestly. That's what scared me.
What embarrasses people is to a certain extent culturally created. There was this ancient Roman by the name of Cato, C-A-T-O. And Cato was a Roman that everyone in those days and even today holds in very high regard. Cato would often intentionally go against fashion. If he weren't, well, you know, they had fashion in those days just like we have fashion today. If fashion dictated that he was not supposed to wear a certain color, he would wear that color. And when asked why he did that, he said that he did it to train himself so that he would be able to have the good sense and the courage and the inner strength to only worry about real shame, not culturally created shame. You see, so much of our shame, so much of our embarrassment, so many of the things that make our already difficult lives that much more miserable come from culturally created shame and culturally created embarrassment.
I think people are jealous of our relationship, to be honest.
I think, you know, to be honest, I think that Tim's a really charismatic person. And so maybe like initially if people just ask me, like I'm a cosmetologist, so people sit in my chair and it almost always gets brought up, like, where's your husband from? And I say, you know, he's from England. And people initially respond like surprised, like, oh wow, you know, and then they see my last name on my business card and they're like, what? And they just can't put two and two together, like, he's Chinese but he's from England, how does that work? So initially they're shocked, but I think that when they meet him, everyone warms right up to him because...
Yeah, there's not too much in the way of judgment because, as I say, culturally there's not a huge difference. You know, we're both
British,
brought up in the church. We've got an English, you know, we speak the common language, and you know, in terms of class, you know, we come from similar class families, and so there's no cultural taboos that are like, oh wow, you're way different. They're always confused and kind of trying to figure out, you know, my side of what I am, where I'm from, and that kind of thing. But in terms of as a couple, I don't think there's anything in the form of judgment at all.
On campus, like some people will be like, "Oh, that's so cool, you know, you're a mixed couple." But when we were on our honeymoon in Vegas, there's a lot of black girls that would just glare at him because he was with a white girl, you know. And you know, we'll get a few looks outside of Rexburg, like, you know, that's interesting. Are they married? Are they dating? Are they just hanging out? You know, like. But on campus, people are pretty open, so.
Yeah, I think I have more friends on campus than I have foes. And so, you know, I think it's more of, oh, that's your wife, you know, great, you know. And I think, I'm not very sure why that is, you know, because ideally, black and white couple, African, American, you know, these are two different people, supposedly. Yeah, but it's just fine. I mean, friends are still friends, Yeah. No, I don't feel like I'm being judged.
Maybe in Korea, because there are lots of Korean population, but in here it's lots of foreign people, lots of Asian, lots of American, lots of different countries people. So I think.
At least here, because there is such a diversity, I don't think I felt very judged. I mean, like I was warned beforehand, like, oh, interracial relationships can be hard because of their cultural differences, but that's about all that I've ever heard of. And they don't judge now that I chose to do that. A lot of people think it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
wow, it's from Korea? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
The typical one I hear, yellow fever, because that was like a joke on my like the mission. Anyone who serves like I don't know foreign, it's like there's always those jokes about like like the like that culture in Japan. We would call it yellow fever. And the one that I was like, it's not like directed, and they don't mean it to be like taken badly, but they'll ask me like. Oh, where's your girlfriend? Because you have a picture and she's obviously Asian. They'll be like, oh, she's from Japan. Like, and then it clicks in their mind, like automatically you serve in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you serve in Japan. It's like, yeah, I did, but does that have anything to do with me marrying a Japanese girl? Obviously, it does. And if we didn't have Japanese, that's another thing. If we didn't both speak to like each other's languages, no way. I think that would be pretty difficult. Both going in second languages, or one in first and one in second. Pretty difficult, but I see where they're coming from, but it's still, once in a while I'm just like, and then another one, they'll ask like, they'll always ask if you met her on your mission.
Yeah.
Every time.
We got that question a lot.
There's a Buddhist conception called Maitri, which is a concept that says that you need to look deeply into this person that you're trying to get to know. You need to look beyond just the surface skin level, but you need to know the thoughts and intents and feelings of their heart. And that's what you need in a marriage. You need a willingness to not just expect that everything should be run the way it was run in your family, and maybe you grew up in a rural lifestyle and, well, this is just how we do it. Maybe you need to be willing to learn from the different background and characteristics of your spouse. And if there's a willingness to do that and there's a willingness to communicate, absolutely. Can we make it work? We can make it work.
I don't know.
Time?
Yeah. Don't rush. Sometimes they have like different pace to do something, so I agree.
But tell them what you put on your notes. That was a good one.
What did I put on my notes?
That was really funny. I couldn't help laugh.
Don't think about it too much. That's right. I did.
You said just get married. Don't think about it. Just get married.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, don't rush anything, and I don't think ours was rushed at all. But when you make a and this isn't really for dating, but just for human relationships in general. If you make a commitment, keep it, and if that's what you do, then your marriage will turn out great.
Yeah. You need to go in with your eyes wide open, and then after the marriage, keep them half closed. Just because Tim and I, whenever there was any doubt, and there were some, there was a lot whenever we were getting married, like, is this gonna work out? Like, just between us. And we always talked about it. Always. We never had a doubt that the other person didn't know about.
Right.
And even though that might have like made us both nervous, I really, really appreciated that like I could tell him my concerns.
You get what you ask a lot for. You really do. And he sets the terms, and as long as you can abide by his terms, he will give you what you want. I cannot ask for a greater wife, honestly. This is not saying it because she's here or because I'm on the video. In my quiet time, I ask myself how I came across Catherine. We didn't go into so much details though. She was 18 years when I first met her. She fresh from high school, and I was 25. And I'm like, she's so young. You know, all of this was what played in that made me delay the entire process because I wasn't sure what's going on, you know? But it came to me that the age wasn't the issue. It's just the person, you know? When I came closer and I saw her person, I knew I was in safe hands, you know, even though I was miles from home, you know? And so, relying on the Lord, it's the bottom line. I know you might feel pressured, you know, because, oh, I'm aging, I need someone right now. It doesn't work that way. Because trust me, there are days in marriage where it's really hard. And when you don't have that friendship already established, then you have problems. Because marriage is not a bed of roses. You don't think it's all happy.
Sometimes it is.
You have, yes, or sometimes, sorry, I didn't say that right. But then you have your hard times, you know, that the friendship that you've established would help you sail through.
Find somebody to get married with. Playing to just know each other for long and then see the family and think about when you get married, can you sacrifice yourself for your partner?
Time to talk about some problems helped a lot, like to get to know each other better and then or sometimes improve more.
In my opinion, any couple, no matter if it's intercultural or whatever, even if your neighbor's in the same ward, you could be more different than us just because of the family,
Right.
how you're raised. And so taking a look at the family is really, because you don't marry into the family as much as maybe you used to, but still, I mean, there's huge. And that's what really, it got me more attracted to Usami even, was seeing her family. I think that's,
Same here.
yeah, we love each other's families, and it's sad that we're so far away.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
First and foremost, see everyone as children of God. Whether American, Caribbean, African, Haitian, we're all God's kids, you know. Back to the scriptures, in His likeness, you know, and in His image we're all created, you know. Then you look at, you know, the cultures. I love when she always asks me, so tell me about your culture. You know, what do you guys do regarding this, regarding this, regarding this? And somehow we just found out we had common grounds somehow, even in the African culture, you know? And that just got us so excited that we knew this much about ourselves. Forget about the stereotypes. Don't even look at that. You know, people are like this. Because if I had lived on, or you know, if I had, you know, dwelt on the stereotypes on Americans, then I would not be with Catherine today. You know, I'm pretty sure if she had dwelt on the stereotypes of Africans, she would not be with me today. When I went to go ask her dad to get married to her, we went up, you know, to his library and we sat down and we're talking. He said, you know, I already had my answer, you know, but I just had to go to the Lord to get the confirmation, to make sure, you know, yeah, this is okay. And he told me of an experience he had when he was in the temple, looking at the chandeliers, you know, the light reflections on the chandeliers in the temple. When he looked at it, in the celestial room, it was all white. And then, you know, he kept wondering what was going on with him, you know, and then when he regained himself, he looked back again and it was, you know, the multiple colors all over. And then he said something. He said, I know color doesn't matter. It doesn't. He made me show my temple recommend. And he said, if you didn't have a temple recommend, then I will have an issue with this. But since you have a temple recommend and you told me you live by it, and you live what it, you know, you honor your priesthood, I think my daughter is in good hands. And I think that's the bottom line, you know, being a guy or being a girl. If it's a guy who's American and he finds someone from a different culture, you look past culture. You look past, oh, she's different, and understand the spiritual side of the person. We need, you know, to be able to return back to live in God's presence, and it's who will be able to get us there, you know, as a team, as a partnership that we really want.
If you love somebody, better tell them why they're here, 'cause they just may run away from you. You'll never know quite when, well, then again it just depends on how long the time is left for you. I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. You can have it all, but now keep moving. I'll take it in, but don't look down, 'cause I'm on top of the world. Hey!